I'm not saying that you don't have the right to be offended generally.
Yes.
I mean, people have the right to be offended, and there are many offensive things that people are going to encounter in their life every day. And should we work to minimize those things? Sure. I've got my boys are grown, and people can say, well, they're white and privileged, so you don't have much to be offended about. But I have 2 grandchildren that are 12 and 10, and 2 more that are 1 and 1 month. So they're gonna be coming up through this world. And my point is this, I would hope that they would be in an environment where they wouldn't be so averse to offensive stimuli that they would be put off by it. Because from a psychological standpoint, there's a completely different mindset, right? If somebody finds something troubling them, anxiety producing in some way, in psychology, our approach is not to avoid it, but to go exactly the opposite direction, right?
Slowly expose yourself to it.
To do immersion therapy, exposure therapy, systematic desensitization. And what we're talking about is if there's something that is anxiety producing for you, something that creates discomfort for you that you can't control, that you learn to cope with it, you learn to live with it in a way that you're not paralyzed by it, that you don't have an anxiety reaction to it. And the way they do that, I don't want to get into a lot of detail about this, but it's a stepwise progression where, let's say you have an elevator phobia, for example. It would start out by saying, okay, if you have an elevator phobia, then we would put you in a lobby with an elevator in it, but you would be as far away from the elevator as you could possibly be. And we would get you as relaxed as you could possibly be, where you could be completely relaxed in the lobby with an elevator at the other end. Then it would move you closer. And if you got it all anxious, we'd back you up a little bit. And then we'd move you closer. And then if you got anxious, we'd back you up a little bit. And then we'd get to we could get you all the way in the elevator without having any anxiety. And then we'd push the button. And if you got anxious, we'd stop it and get you back out of it. And then we'd put you back in until you could actually ride the elevator without anxiety. We would systematically desensitize you to the offensive stimuli until you go, okay, I can live with this. Doesn't mean you love it. Doesn't mean you get up every morning and say, where's an elevator? Put me in one, but you could do it. And that's part of what I think needs to happen. I'm not saying you learn to live with prejudice, judgment, other people's offensive reactions to you, but to the extent that you can't control it, we need to prepare people to cope with it. Am I wrong?
I agree totally. And I think, just, you know, um, several years ago when we had this whole like bullying campaign, zero tolerance in schools for bullying and all of this. And, um, I had a teenager who was experiencing bullying. And, you know, one of the things that really set her up for success was actually learning how to deal with the bullying, not necessarily having the administration stop it, because we know that that doesn't happen, but how to actually deal with it. And by learning new coping skills, she learned how to have a voice and how to deal with it and different things that she could put into place. But if we just got the bully out of the school, she would have never learned any of that. And so I think there's always gonna be a bully, there's always gonna be somebody who says something offensive. That elevator could have stopped mid-trip, when we're trying to have that person not be afraid of elevators. Like, we can't control this stuff. We have to learn how to deal with these things as they come up and how you cope. And I think we're not teaching our youth how to cope with anxiety, with depression. I mean, one of my kids the other day said, "Well, all my friends are depressed, all of them." And I was like, "What does depression mean?" And she couldn't describe what that meant. So it's just a word that they're all using. "I'm gonna kill myself. I'm suicidal." These are things that kids are saying now that are it's like we're desensitized to it because everyone's saying it. So I think, you know, we have to figure out a way to help teach our kids how to cope with diversity and prejudice and bullying and offensive language and all of it to make them a well-rounded, strong person.
You said something that was really important about you could get the bully out of the school, but who's gonna take the bully's place? And then when they get out of school and they get in the workplace, who's to say the boss isn't gonna be a bully? And then you're gonna replace the boss?
Right.
I've always said, and I said this in a podcast the other day, if I had 2 applicants in front of me that I was considering for the same job, and they were matched in every way, age, intelligence, experience, in every way, except one of them had a college degree and the other one didn't. Even if the college degree was in a totally irrelevant field, I would probably be somewhat favorable towards the college graduate for this reason until now. What I would know about the college graduate based on my own experience is I would know that number 1, they could set a long-term goal. They could meet deadlines. They could work as part of a group, and they could get along with authority figures they did not like. Because it's their job to get along with the professor, not the professor's job to get along with them. And I don't know that about this candidate over here. I do know it about this one over here, because based on my experience, certainly in graduate school, I walked around the last year with my resignation letter on my clipboard. So I know that there's a lot of pressure, and I know that they had to do those 4 or 5 things. Maybe this person's had to do that, but maybe not. This I know this about this person. Now I don't know that about college graduates anymore, because I know if they went according to the coddling of the American mind, they reported in 2015 school year that all 10 of the University of California schools, they had a list of trigger statements to avoid, and one was, you can no longer say America is the land of opportunity. I'm sorry? You can no longer say, I believe the most qualified person should get the job.
What can we say?
I'm serious. That means we can no longer advocate for a meritocracy. So now what do I know about someone that's been through the college experience? I don't.
They've gotten a trophy for everything they've done.
Yeah.